Alrighty. This is We the People News. One more time at it. Educational purposes only. Okay. Um. Now, I'm gonna be doing part of this here, and then I'm gonna jump to what we did on my last video. Okay. And again, I'm not an attorney, not giving legal advice. Educational purposes only. Okay. Arm length. Okay. And never look just straight forward. Always look around you. Be able to protect yourself by any means necessary. Arm yourself with knowledge. All right. Let's see what he thinks on.
Based on false reporting. So we got a lot of fraud now. It's already started. And when asked for details, they never supplied them. Even worse, they never supplied reporting on the distillery side so that we could finish the taxes for the LLC for that same year. So, and to this day, they have not supplied it. So we had to close our taxes with our accountant understanding and putting a note that they never supplied the information. So that's in our tax filing for that year. Just for the LLC. Keep in mind, we're not filing taxes at this point. We've already revoked our status as a taxpayer and all that good stuff. So, in any event, so now in September, we get this letter from their lawyer, and the first thing I do within 24 hours, I send a notice to the man named, we'll call him Joe Dirt, who sometimes acts as partner, principal, attorney for those of mankind, acting as board members.
Okay.
So you guys got that sentence? That makes sense. To the man.
Yeah. Break it down again, though, just for everybody.
Yep. So I sent a notice to the man, Joe Dirt, who at times acts as whatever his title that he hides behind. Okay.
And furthermore, 1871, Congress passed a law saying that officers don't have qualified immunity. However, this is under common law, okay, not civil Roman law. So if we learn how to do this correctly, you go after the officer the exact same way he says it, right? You're going after the man that acts as an officer, okay? But you're going after the man or woman, okay?
So acts at times acts as, and those of mankind making the false accusation. I sent separate notices to those of mankind that acted as board members, and I called out each one of their names by name. The man who acts as board member or board manager. And then I proceeded with my notices. First of all, clarifying I am man, who I am. So that's your statement of standing, by the way. So everybody talks about you got to do this, whole standing thing and living man. Now, as soon as you say I am man, you've already taken care of that. You've cut through the corporate veil. You're not making a big deal about it, but you're clarifying standing. Then you reference what it is they sent, and you take verbatim, you take one of the sentences of accusation right out of their letter. Now, attorneys send letters. We send notices and correspondence.
Yeah, I like to send notices too. I'm big on my notices and demands.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I don't demand, I command. A man commands.
Okay.
Command is
Now, listen to the verbiage right there, right? We're speaking man language. We command, okay? We don't demand, we command. Again, we're going back into man language, men and women language. We spit on our hands, we do a manly handshake. Vice versa with women, right? Same.
as a kid sitting there going,
I moving over?
My ice cream.
So we're moving over from demand to what? Command? We're commanding shit now? Okay.
Mankind makes law. Yep.
All right, so no more demand, everybody. We are now commanding they do what we say. Do we got this right? Say it wait, I want everybody, no more demands, right? We ain't demanding no more. We got this.
Well,
and if I ever come through and I say, we're going to hit them with a notice and demand, I want your ass to correct me. Say, Cameron, you're wrong. It's command now. You hear me? Correct my ass. I don't want to hear it. Just tell me like it is.
Yep.
Cameron,
we don't request, we require. We don't demand, we command.
Don't request, we require, right? When you go by the statutes, you ask, right, uh, for your request, right? You're asking, you're requiring that, okay? You're requiring that statue that they're going by. Why? Because you still can use that statue against them, but you're going to use that statue against that officer as the man that acts like an officer. But he broke that statue. So let's go on.
Oh, we're no longer requesting either. We're requiring. Because it's your goddamn duty. Excuse me, but it's your duty. You got to do it. All right. Let's go, Kevin.
So, yep, no titles. You can say what you act as, because it's all play. You can say what you act as, but you're a man first. A man or woman, respectfully to everybody here. So,
All right, Internet, come on.
what you do then is you send these.
Now, remember, we're going to be using language as a man. Okay, we're not using the fictitious language, corporation language. All right, two different languages. And people are asking, well, how do you get common law? It's in the words. Same process, notices and all that kind of stuff. And you may have to do civil rules of procedure and all that kind of stuff. But the notices itself takes care of 90%. Then you follow, the other ones. Are I'll keep going.
In the private.
Oh, number one mistake I did previous beginning of education, right? I still did a man on my affidavit. Well, we no longer do affidavit. That's still under corporate jurisdiction, right? I affirm. So no more affidavit. I affirm. Same thing. We just changed the wording. We're speaking man or affirm, right? Not affidavit.
To them as a man. And you give them, because a man is the one that has to make this decision, not some title. A title doesn't make a decision. You can't.
Also, another bit deal, right? And I've done it in the past as well, right? Under penalty of perjury or affirmation. Well, no more of that. You do true, not truth, true, right? Different language. We're speaking man to man, right? So we're speaking truth, or true, sorry, right? That imprisonment, the speaking language, gets you trapped and you speak things that you don't do an intent to, right? The intent is true, but due to creature habits, it's truth. So let's separate them words too. True. And we try not to go by facts, right? We're not going to go by facts. If we go by facts, I want to know, did your facts lead you to the true? Or did your facts lead you to the false?
The title on the stand to testify as to how it did you harm. It's impossible. It's a fictitious entity. So you call out the man, and as a result, you're cutting through the corporate veil right out of the get-go. Now, in my particular case, and in Vicky's case, again, we were not named executives on the agreement, so it makes this a little easier. If we would have had an agency situation, which we did not, like an employment agreement or some sort of contract that specifically names us. And so that comes out of the 1938 Erie Railroad versus Tompkins ruling. And that's what changed the idea of person. Basically, you have to be named in the contract in order for you to have jurisdictional standing, especially if you're talking about a diversity situation, multiple states and or federal versus state, that sort of thing. Comes back to
Now remember that, y'all. 1938 is when we filed that bankruptcy, right?
common law. There is no federal common law. It has to revert back to the common law of the state. So the state took advantage of that ruling and said, oh, good, we'll start naming men and women in contracts and giving them a title. And guess what? Now you have agency. Now it can be heard as a common law jurisdictional fake in the federal judiciary.
So that's kind of interesting because that ties back into it's all titles of nobility.
Correct. It's all titles of nobility.
Yeah.
So let me. That's a fantastic segue, Cam. Such a good
okay.
So, all right, I'm going to read something for everybody just to wrap your head around this.
Okay.
So I'm going to read you the definition of title from Black's Law Dictionary. So thank you for the title segue.
Yes, sir.
Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. Title. The radical meaning of this word appears to be that of a mark, style, or designation, a distinctive appellation, the name by which anything is known. So now think of that and think of...
So we got that. 48. Well, we may have to kind of pause it right here. It kind of gives you an idea with my internet. Who knows when it's going to kick on? Right?
But this one that clarified the actual jurisdiction is Penn.
And it's good that it comes after 1791 as well. That's 1795. So.
Yep. Yeah, it's all part of that same sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Those 2 decades after the Civil War. So.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to stop sharing for the moment.
Now, to understand what he said about Civil War, right? It was the Revolution War, but it was Civil War because it was British against British, right? The red coats and the blue coats, okay? But it was a Civil War. The other one was the Civil War. It was between the states here. After the first Civil War, which was what we call the Revolution.
Now, what you want to segue into? Anybody got any questions right there? This is a good question point. Anybody got any questions right now?
Yes, I do.
I got. All right. Y'all raise your hand real quick, and then we'll run through it. I'll call on each one. We'll do it like that this time, if y'all can. If the hands on there. Okay, Jack's first. Come on, Jack.
Oh, hey. So I was wondering, given that last quote, with the corporate versus man thing, should we then just, like with regular traffic citations and whatnot, should we just submit a answer in a demur, or like how do we go about that?
So you're asking a good question, and I'll rephrase it a little bit, a little different than how you asked the question to answer properly, if that's okay. So what you want to do, the moment you get a citation, and I mean the moment. So let's just say you pulled away, right? You just now drove off, and you're headed to somewhere, and let's just hope that you have, if you don't have your computer, you got a piece of paper and a pen. You're immediately starting a notice to the man that pulled you over. So, and we can use all their special procedural terms and their Latin terms, but the reality is the notice is the same. And I did this morning also, I did a document specifically on that, that it means the same thing. So if you look at procedures like in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland, in their rebuttal procedures, they actually state notices as being the rebuttal. So they acknowledge in the verbiage in their actual rules and procedures that you must notice, which is really funny because attorneys like to ignore that term because it's the term that gets them stuck, because putting somebody on notice means they must rebut or it stands. So I saw today a lot of people talking about a corpus nonum.
Right? That would be silence of acquiescence. So even when you have received a notice, right, you got to rebut it. Your tax on your land. Um, well, the cop, right?
Notice, and they're all notices. So the bottom line is, whatever you do, always make sure you put notice, and you can specify what type, but always put notice on any of your rebuts.
Legit.
That always, never miss that word.
I like that.
Because they must rebut it then. And like I said, it's in their procedures. So I don't know if now is the right time or not, but you tell me. This is kind of fluid. So should I pull up the citation rebuttal that I did for my wife's?
That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be cool. And while you're doing that, let Mitch and Laser ask a question too. Mitch, go ahead.
All right. We're going to go ahead and end it here. I'm going to do one more about this. But when you want to get the full text, again, go to Power Inherited in the People. Okay? And get the whole 2 hours and 28 minutes of it. This week, People News. Bye, y'all.